Welcome back to MyCase Monday. My focus as an accountant is on MyCase Accounting. As a consultant and an education partner with MyCase, they give me access to a demo file for MyCase. And so what in here is not, there's no confidentiality. These are all fake clients, leads, transactions. It's a demo file accessed by many different MyCase consultants. What I'm trying to accomplish is every week, I call it MyCase Monday. Every Monday, I'm going to go through and create one video about a different section within my case, specifically in the accounting side, not the case management side. And each video is one specific item. So I always start on the homepage because that's when you log in, it takes you to the homepage. And then to get to accounting, if you scroll down on the left-hand side, there's this section for modules and you click on accounting and then that pops out this menu. Today, we're going to work on banking. And when I click on banking, it's now going to take me to this screen. And within the banking section of MyCase Accounting, there are 4 different sections. So 4 submenus, if you will. Today, I'm only focusing on one of these submenu items just to be able to keep the video as short as possible. So when you get into banking and then the banking screen within MyCase Accounting, this is going to give you a list of your bank accounts. Now, most firms should have at a minimum 2 bank accounts. You should have your operating account, and then you should have your trust account. Your trust account may also be referred to at the bank as either an IOLTA account or an IOLA account. Depending on what state you're in, there's slightly different names to the type of bank account. But within here, you'll notice that we've added several, like we meaning whoever within the MyCase consultants have added in multiple bank accounts. For example, I used to be a profit first professional, which means, and I still believe in this theory, it's a cash management system. There's a book called Profit First written by Mike Michalowicz. When I started my accounting practice in 2005, a very common question I would get from clients, and back then I was not exclusive to working with law firms. So I had a lot of clients that were struggling with payroll. So just to even pay their employees was a struggle. Some were able to make payroll, but really stressed out about making the payroll taxes. Others, I had a couple retail places and they charged sales tax, or they collected sales tax, I should say. And so they'd have to collect it and remit it. Now, here's the thing. Your state bar requires you as a law firm to open up an IOLTA or an IOLA account and separately keep forever all client money. So you're segregating client funds that are not your funds. Most attorneys understand that part. The non-law firm companies, so they're companies who pay payroll, you will collect payroll taxes, and not all of it is trust fund, just the portion that you're withholding from paycheck from your employee. That's the trust fund piece. And if you collect sales tax, which I believe this is 2025, I believe there are maybe 3 states in the US that tax legal services, but sales tax, that's a trust fund. And it's the reasons why it's trust fund is the same why you have an IOLTA account, because it's not your money. And so you're meant to be able to keep it in a separate account. But like I said, I would routinely have companies come to me saying, hey, I'm struggling. And here's what was happening. They'd have one bank account. All the money every day from their sales was going into that one account. In 2005, we were just starting to get online banking and not necessarily banking apps, but they were getting there. You at least had telephone banking back then. And so you could call your bank, you can call the IVR and check and see what your account balance was each day. Mike Michalowicz talks about this in his book, Profit First. There's a phenomenon that happens and he calls it bank balance accounting. Essentially, you log in, get today's instant, as of right now, real time account balance, and say the account says you have $10,000 and you get an email that says, oh my gosh, there's this amazing conference and it's in Miami, Florida, and you're sitting in Cleveland, Ohio, and today it's raining. And you're like, wow, it'd be great to go to Miami, Florida because the weather's amazing and it'd be nice to get out of this weather. And you're like, oh, hey, I have $10,000 in the bank and it's only $2,000. So that's what bank balance accounting is. It's making decisions based on what is your bank account balance instead of understanding what those transactions represent, meaning what transactions are missing, i.e., oh my gosh, you have payroll that you haven't submitted and it's due, it's going to be paid on Friday. Today's Monday. Or sales tax if that happens to apply to you. So what Mike proposes, and this is something that I had proposed very often before the book Profit First was written, but admittedly, Mike thought through it way better beyond what I was a lot more short term with it. I would routinely recommend to clients who are struggling, whether it was making payroll, paying payroll taxes, sales tax, maybe they had a loan payment for equipment or something that they were just struggling to pay. I would say, hey, let's, at the end of every week, let's figure out how much money you need to put away. So if it were for payroll taxes, I would say, hey, money just came out of your checking account for the payroll, for net payroll, but your payroll tax piece isn't going to be withdrawn from your account for another 2 weeks, just timing of when it was due, right? And so make sure you set aside, say that was $5,000, open a new bank account called payroll taxes and pull money out of your operating account to cover whatever you have to do to cover your payroll taxes. If that was the situation, put that money into your payroll bank account. So essentially what Profit First is, and again, I used to be a Profit First professional. I still completely support the method. I just walked away from the group. I have friends that can help if that's something you'd like to pursue, but you can easily read the book as well. But the idea is open a bank account for a purpose. And here's a personal situation. Oh, and this, like today is, so it used to be called the envelope method. My mom did this when I was young. I can remember my dad would come home with his paycheck. He would hand her the cash and that like he'd leave some in their checking account, but he would hand her some cash and then she would know she would have one envelope for gas for the car. She would have one envelope for groceries. And then if she were saving for something, I can remember her saving for a microwave. So a couple bucks every week went into her envelope for a microwave. And then when she finally had enough saved for the microwave, she could just grab the envelope. We went to the store and bought the microwave. When we went grocery shopping, she'd grab her coupon pouch and then she would grab the envelope for the groceries. And then that was the grocery money and that became her budget because that's what's happening. You're effectively taking money and you're saying, no, I'm assigning this dollar. It's going to go to this purpose. What Mike did with the book is he converted it into business, business terms. And instead of having real envelopes and cash, it's bank accounts because that's what we deal with. So that's where there's a potential to have multiple bank accounts, but it is possible. There's actually a lot of businesses that have multiple bank accounts. Even before I opened my accounting firm, I was CFO of a bank. If you can imagine, we had many bank accounts, and I'm not talking customer bank accounts. I am talking as a corporation, we had multiple bank accounts. We had one just for checks that we issued. We'd fund. So if we wrote $100,000 in accounts payable checks today, we would issue the checks. We'd put the money from our main account into the check issuing account. And that was a prevention because the amount in the check disbursement account was only ever the balance of the payments we issued. So if somebody tried to take our check, copy the account number, and write a check, there most likely wouldn't be enough money in the account to clear the check because we'd issue checks and they'd clear right away. So it was a prevention, but it was also budgeting, making sure that we would never overdraw our accounts. So I know this may look funny to some who are like, why are there multiple accounts? But there is a valid reason to it. It's a great cash management theory or methodology to have multiple bank accounts. And if you're interested, definitely I would recommend getting the book, or I actually wrote a book that talks about how to effectively manage cash in a law firm, like specifically with a law firm. And so it's available. You can buy it on Kindle or Amazon in paperback, but I also have it for free in PDF form on my website. If you go into profitscalethrive.com, there's a resource tab. And within there, there's a couple different books. And the one that has the light blue cover is the one. It's called Stop Struggling and Start Thriving. So this page for banking is going to list your different bank accounts. You're going to have the name you gave it, and then what type of account is it? What is the bank name? And it says institution because there's actually technically there's banks and thrifts, and then there's fintech, that pairs with banks or thrifts. And so institution is just a generic term, but it effectively is bank. I think it's common to just refer to financial institutions as banks. And this also will help you. Now, I personally, when I name an account, I would put, so like here, I would name it trust account, and then I would put X, meaning there were other digits, and then 9876. So these last 4 digits. MyCase was pretty nice about putting right here on the main page the last 4 digits. If you knew the name of the account, what you wanted to nickname it. I know a lot of clients I work with, it just says bank account and then 4 digits, but we have an internal reference that's something that means what that account represents. And so in here, this effectively operates as a dashboard within your banking section, within the subset of accounting. Now, bank balance here, because this is a demo file, these are not valid bank accounts. So bank account balance is 0. If this were a live file, then as of today, when I log in, MyCase goes out to your bank, pulls the balance. And so it would populate this field with whatever, at Chase Bank, whatever your trust account balance was. So you would have some reference point, and then you can see your MyCase balance, meaning within MyCase Accounting, how much money do you have in the account in your check register? And then how many unreviewed transactions? This is important because MyCase does connect directly to your bank online, and it will pull in transactions that have cleared the bank that may or may not be posted in your books. Unreviewed just means that MyCase has downloaded some cleared transactions from your bank, and you need to review them to either say, yes, it matches to this transaction I already recorded in MyCase Accounting in my check register, or no, it's a brand new transaction that I need to post. Now within here, you can manage accounts, which when you do that, it's looking to connect a new account. And because this is a demo account, I can't do that. You would have additional fields within here that you can connect and then manage the access to these online accounts that are theoretically already connected to an online bank. And they don't have to be the same bank. If you like here, Martel Sardina is definitely different from Chase, and then Test. Like these could all be 4 different banks. Okay. They don't have to be the same bank. And then you have the ability to add a bank account. So if you click on the add bank account, you can go in here and start entering the information. And then as soon as you save that, it would pop up in here. And I will try to not mention this on every single video, but there's a filter anytime you see a list. And I think most times it defaults rows per page to 5, but you have these other options. So if you had 20 bank accounts, you could change that to 25, and then that'll work when we get into different screens and when there's more rows to be able to see. Text size. If this is so right now it's at the smallest, but if I click the plus, see how it gets bigger? So you can increase it 3 times. Or it's the solid, like the starting and then 1, 2, and then that's the max. So that's what I have to talk about today on banking, and come back next week and we're going to tackle deposit slips.